it is time for some teams to panic.
Panic! Ah! Ah!
Oh, man. Well, I'm sure that was
I wrote down 3 individual names that I thought you might be able to pontificate upon in terms of panic.
Okay.
I don't think the team itself is quite in panic mode, but Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, and Chris Paul with the Golden State Warriors. The non 20-point scorers club around
Brandon Pajemski. Brandon Pajemski is not on that list anymore. He's the only Warrior to score more than 20 points a game besides Steph Curry. Oh, Dario Saric actually has done it twice.
Yes.
I was going to introduce the Golden State Warriors by asking you to guess which team in the NBA is 29th currently in transition frequency on offense.
Wow. Okay, I did not know that. What's so funny is when I was in Memphis and we would play Golden State, the thing that always hit me was just how fast they were. And we were a slow team, so obviously it looked worse when we played them, but Draymond would get a rebound and just push, and Steph would be running, and Klay would be running, and they would just book up the court, and it was just like, can we even get matched up in time before 3-pointers landing on our heads? And so for them to be 29th is like shocking to me.
Yeah, now part of that is Draymond hasn't played as much. Part of it is Chris Paul.
Well, yeah, because he can't finish any of the games.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. But also just they're older, right? I mean, they're just not like older teams just don't push the ball in transition. I mean, you saw in the Lakers series, Draymond tried to rev that motor back up to push the ball. Also, Draymond never gets a rebound anymore. That's another reason why he's not really like pushing the ball in transition. Like he's more of a grab and go guy than an outlet guy. So yeah, that I think is taken away from what made them so incredibly fearsome, that they're not this unbelievable transition team anymore. And then, you mentioned like Chris Paul, he couldn't do anything against Minnesota last night, but he doesn't have a role man. Like, I don't think it's his fault. I think he actually looks fine physically, and they just don't have anywhere close to the ecosystem around him that they need for him to like be the point god necessarily. Like, if I have to watch him and Kevon Looney run another pick and roll together, like, I'm just gonna absolutely tear up my. Like, I would honestly rather that Chris Paul were running pick and roll with James Wiseman right now than Kevon Looney, just because like how many times they're gonna throw Kevon Looney the ball coming downhill with an advantage at the free throw line, and he just goes to the opposite side to try to hand off to somebody else. And Looney isn't playing well. Yeah.
Could they run him with TJD? Would that help at all?
I would like to see more of that. I mean, like TJD, I think has some pretty good building blocks, but of course, even at 23, he's still inexperienced. He had a couple of scouting reports mistakes last night on Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid, but I would like to see that a little bit more. I mean, I do think that it kind of is too bad for Kevon Looney, although I don't think he's playing at the same level that he's played at, particularly defensively. But because Klay and Wiggins aren't shooting very well, you can't play Kevon Looney, because then like you just don't have enough shooting on the floor at all. Like, so I think they should consider more TJD. They need to consider more Draymond at center. But then also they're just going to be way too small, right? Like Chris Paul is one of their 5 best players, but closing with him and Steph and Klay is really tough. Wiggins hasn't emerged. Like they have to get Wiggins going. They have to get Kuminga going. Like that's the league runs on these really good wings. Like if they don't have those guys playing well, they're just not going to be relevant in the end.
Yeah, that's why I was asking about the panic, because I mean Klay and Wiggins in particular have just looked so mediocre to bad depending on the night, and just it's a little more shocking to me with Wiggins actually, because he was so good in the title run 2 years ago, and he's not in an age where he should be declining like this. Like Klay, you could sort of see some signs last year, and at his age with the injuries he's had, it could be a little more like, okay, well, this is just what happens. Wiggins to me is just shocking.
I think Klay will at least shoot better. I mean, he's missing shots. Like I think he'll be able to make shots, but Yeah, he is older, but Wiggins, I think maybe he's never really been like, a workout warrior type. And he's getting to an age where you actually really have to start taking care of your body and like get stronger. And I think he looks like he's lost athleticism. Like his finishing at the rim, he blows a tire. Let me see what he's shooting at the rim. It's got to be something pretty terrible here. Yeah, he's shooting 60% at the rim right now. And yeah, also he can't make a three. His confidence is down. Like so yeah, I don't know whether he just didn't have a great summer or I mean, maybe you also just have to conclude that the outlier was 2022 over the course of his career.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, he has no confidence right now as a scorer either. It's been pretty ugly. They're talking about starting Dario Saric now. It's like that's like
he's this year's Anthony Lamb. Like if this guy is the savior, you're fucked.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. So I mean, they have lost what now 4 straight. I mean, the problem too is, and this is similar last year. Steph Curry is 69% true shooting on 33 usage, and you're at 500.
Like he can't do anymore, right? Like he cannot carry the team possibly carry the team any more than that.
Yeah, so I think some of these guys can play at least a little bit better, but it's just and Draymond, like at some point maybe he'll play a full game, and he's rounding back into shape, or rounding is always such an interesting Jaren there, but yeah, he's he needs to get in better shape as well. Like so, some of these guys can definitely play better. I think the construction of their team is not insane if the guys just do what they're supposed to be doing. But at this point, 12 games in, to have some of these guys playing that bad, yeah, I mean, I think you got to be at probably like a 7, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, especially if you're thinking of them as like a fringe championship contender. Yeah, it's got to be a 7.